Hey, Steve Backlund here. Welcome to the Igniting Hope Beliefs Gym. We get to work out our beliefs again. You know, it's pushing against the resistance of feelings and past experience and what our circumstances are trying to get us to renew our mind with. It's as we push against that, we get stronger. We get stronger. Last week's message was really a beliefs gym. I had to use that language because it talked about how our perseverance through trials gives us a crown of life, not as a decoration for our head or something to wear in heaven. It's actually a crown of authority in this life. And so we're working out our beliefs, and again, I'll say it, what we believe is more important than what we do. And it's in the decision, okay, I'm going to believe this. I'm going to believe God's promises. I'm going to believe my identity. I'm going to believe my prophetic words. I'm going to believe I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to have this responsibility. And I want to share a message today that is going to take all of this deeper. It's titled, Lies Smart People Believe. Lies smart people believe. And I've written a blog on it, and I'm going to be reading a little more than normal in this because I really want to get this deep into you and into me. This is an upcoming book also that I'm working on, and so here it is. Lies smart people believe. Breakthrough is rarely blocked by obvious rebellion. It's usually limited by reasonable conclusions. The most dangerous lies don't feel evil. They feel intelligent. They show up as thoughts like, I'm just being realistic. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I don't want to be disappointed again. That's just how I am. I'm just being humble. None of these sound rebellious. They sound mature. A logical lie is a conclusion that makes sense to the natural mind, but contradicts what God says. It sounds wise. It feels responsible. But it quietly lowers expectations. And because it sounds intelligent, we rarely challenge it. Many of our greatest limitations don't come from negativity, but they come from subtle agreement with thoughts that contradict truth. Let's expose 4 logical lies that quietly shrink faith, reduce joy, and limit breakthrough. Let me just share what these 4 are first. Number 1, logical lies feel responsible. Number 2, logical lies are built on past experience. 3, logical lies protect us from disappointment. 4, logical lies masquerade as humility. Let's start with the first one. Logical lies feel responsible. I'm just being realistic. We have to look at the facts. That's the situation. Facts are not the problem. The problem is when facts become the highest authority in how we think and what we choose to do. 2 Corinthians 5:7 says, for we walk by faith, not by sight. Faith doesn't deny reality. It simply refuses to let it have the final word. Let me say that again. Faith does not deny reality. It simply refuses to let it have the final word. Logic says this is impossible. Faith says with God, all things are possible. When we reduce our thinking to what we can measure or predict, we shrink our capacity for breakthrough. Responsibility becomes an excuse for limitation. Sometimes what we call wisdom is simply agreement with what we can see. Let's ask ourselves, are we being realistic? Or are we agreeing with a ceiling in our lives? Number 2, logical lies are built on past experience. It didn't work before. That's just how I am. That's the culture here. We use yesterday's results to predict tomorrow's possibilities. But God is not limited by our history. The past does not have the power to block, but the conclusions based on the past do. Isaiah 43 says this, "Forget the former things. See, I am doing a new thing." Verses 18 and 19. Past disappointment can quietly become a belief system. Failure can become an identity. History becomes destiny. But our past is a reference point, not a prophecy. It's a reference point in our life, but it's not a prophecy of our future. I've had moments where I said, I'm just being realistic, but what I meant was, I don't want to be disappointed again. Breakthrough requires the courage to believe this time can be different. The real question is not what happened before, but it's what is God saying now? The real question isn't what happened before, but what is God saying now? Number 3, logical lies protect us from disappointment. Let's go deeper into that. After being hurt or discouraged, something inside says, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We shrink vision to avoid pain. We lower expectations to avoid heartbreak. It feels wise, it feels safe, but safety can become a ceiling. Ephesians 3:20 says, now to him who's able to do exceedingly and abundantly beyond all that we can ask or think. If we shrink what we ask and reduce what we think is possible, we limit what we position ourselves to receive. Guarding our hearts from disappointment can also guard it from breakthroughs. I used to not want to listen to hope preachers because of a fear of disappointment again. Then I realized there's really 2 ways to live. One is you can live a hopeless life and never be disappointed. And 2, we can live a hope-filled life with occasional disappointment. Option 2 is risky, but it is the doorway into unimaginable possibilities. Hope is not naive, it's courageous. It dares to believe again. It dares to expect again. And I'm so thankful. Isaiah 61 says the anointing heals the brokenhearted, and Psalm 23 says he restores our souls. So the pain and the brokenheartedness and the soul wounds we've received from disappointment, he's healing. And by the way, he's doing that right now in your life through this podcast. He's healing you. He's restoring you to hope again. Because when we choose hope after disappointment, we declare that experience does not get the final word, but God does. Experience does not get the final word, but God does. And number 4, logical lies. We're talking today about lies smart people believe, and I know you're a smart person. Logical lies masquerade as humility. I'm just being humble. I don't have what it takes. Someone else could do it better. We call it humility, but it is often agreement with inadequacy instead of agreement with grace. Romans 12:3 says, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought to think, but think with sober judgment. Sober thinking is accurate thinking. True humility isn't thinking less of ourselves. It's thinking in agreement with what God says. If God says you are called, equipped, and empowered, then agreeing with small thinking isn't humility, it's misplaced logic. False humility keeps us safe from visibility, but it also keeps us from impact. We don't honor God by believing we're incapable. We honor him by trusting the grace that's on our lives. Now, as I think about all this, and here's the real danger. Here's the real danger of this message: lies smart people believe. These lies don't make us rebellious, but they make us passive. They don't cause us to run from God. They cause us to expect less from God. They lower anticipation. They reduce boldness. They quietly shrink joy. Romans 15:13 says, "Now may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing." Joy and hope are evidence of belief. Smart people don't usually fail for obvious lies. They fail for logical ones. Before agreeing with a thought, ask, does this align with what God says? Not every reasonable conclusion deserves our agreement. Faith isn't illogical. It simply answers to a higher logic. Breakthrough doesn't come when circumstances change. It comes when agreement changes. And it begins the moment we refuse to let logic set our ceiling of how high we can go. You know, as we think about all this, and we think about what's happening in the world, what's happening in the church, the Lord is releasing a grace on people to break out of the pack. That's what Caleb did. I love talking about Caleb. When I first became a believer at age 19, I was so captivated by him because it says in Numbers 14, he had a different spirit. He had a different spirit. Joshua, who's his buddy, who was the second spy who gave a good report, he spent extra time in the tent of meeting and in the presence. But Caleb was out with the people, out with those who were too logical, smart people, but they were too logical. But Caleb had a different spirit. You have a different spirit for such a time as this. Hey, if you like this podcast, why don't you send it to somebody and just subscribe on our YouTube channel or wherever you listen to the podcast, if you're able to do that. We love that. Write a comment on it. We're trying to get this message of hope out even more. And if you have a heart to help us with that, please do. Hey, let me tell you some things coming up at Igniting Hope. We're right in the middle of our annual Negativity Fast Positivity Feast. Got about 3,000 people doing it, 7 languages. It's just really fun. And hey, if you missed it and you want to be a part of it, and you just email us at info@ignitinghope.com. I believe you just say, hey, I'd love to do that. And our team will help you, whether you can jump on with this one as we're doing it, or just get the content for yourself and just start immediately. And our transformational mind renewal course is starting in April. It's a 5-month course, Radical Mind Renewal, 5 steps of Radical Mind Renewal, a month on each of them. And it's really, if you want to go deeper into the content, it's a good one. It's a good one. IgnitingHopeAcademy.com. You can find the information about that. And if finances are a problem, just let us know. Email us at info@ignitinghope.com. Tell us what you can do. And then something really exciting that's happening. Wendy, my wife, is doing a online mentorship, group mentorship, and it's starting on March 3rd. So really immediately after this podcast is released, March 3rd, 2025, we're in that year. And it's going to be She's going to do a monthly 90-minute Zoom call, and you also get all of her content, which is just hours and hours and hours of content from Wendy, and we're going to have other things on it. You can find that at ignitinghopeacademy.com. $47 a month. That's what we're doing for that. So if you're interested in more of Wendy, that is happening. Hey, travel coming up right immediately after this is released. I'll be in Meridian, Idaho at Resurge Church. The following week in March, I'm going to be at New Bethel in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. That's going to have a great Saturday meeting there. If you're in the area or you want to fly in, that will be really, really strong. And then I'll be at the end of March. Wendy and I will be at Zion Christian Fellowship in Powell, Ohio with our good friends Jim and Mary Baker for a weekend there. Last weekend of March, I'll be in Indianapolis, Indiana area at Overflow Church. In April, be in Houston, Texas in May. Let me get my month straight. And we're going to be doing the Abounding Hope and Joy Conference in Redding as well at the end of May. And so that's an opportunity there for people who want to get the greater message with Wendy and I. That what a wonderful event. Go to Reading. And then in June, I'm going to be in Bradford, UK. Looking forward to being there as well. And then there's other events coming up. Hey, thanks so much for listening to this podcast or watching it on our YouTube channel. And I just want to remind you, we are here to ignite your hope. The Greek definition for the word hope is the confident, joyful expectation that good is coming. I like to add this definition. Hope is the belief that the future will be better than the present, and we have the power to help make it so. Hope is the belief that the future will be better than the present, and we have the power to help make it so. And our hope level determines our influence level, and the person with the most hope is the most influence. It's difficult to influence that which we do not have hope for. And increasing hope is the evidence that we're renewing our mind with truth instead of lies and creating positive strongholds. Decreasing hope in our life or an area of our life is the evidence that we're renewing our mind with lies instead of truth. So our hope level is the indicator of whether we're believing lies or truth. Now, there's no condemnation if we're believing lies, but if we don't know what our problem is, we have a real problem. I used to not know what my problem was. And then remember, too, the joy of the Lord is our strength. We don't need strength at the end of the battle. We need strength in the middle of the battle. I used to say, well, I'll be joyful, Lord, when all my uncertainties are over. When I'm only hearing good news in the media, when the people around me are doing what I think they should be doing, when I don't have any financial challenges, I'm feeling healthy in every way, I'm completely satisfied with me and every, then I'll be joyful. Lord said, hey, you don't need joy then. You need joy now because it's your strength. A merry heart is good like medicine. It's going to be medicine to strengthen you through things. And pretty much everybody listening, this is just not a good season to be radically joyful. I've never found a convenient season to be radically joyful. There's always a reason why. And again, we mourn. There's seasons of mourning. We weep with those who weep. And doesn't mean we don't take things seriously and get concerned about things. I'm not saying that we just are Pollyanna, head in the sand. But I am saying this, that if we have a lifestyle that doesn't value joy, then we're not going to be as strong. We're not going to be as healthy. We're not going to create as healthy relationships around us. And we're really going to misunderstand how our assignment is to flow through us. We increase joy by focusing more on how far we've come than how far we need to go. We're thankful. Thanksgiving. We enter his gates with thanksgiving. We increase joy by seeing the tests in our various trials, seeing what belief systems are being tested, what beliefs are being tested through the trial, according to James 1:2-4. We can consider it pure joy, knowing that the testing of our faith, the testing of our beliefs is going to produce something. And we increase joy by delighting in the Lord. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Delighting is the opposite of the spirit of heaviness. Faith people who have hope are delighters in the Lord. Faith people who don't value hope don't delight, because there's a subconscious belief system in the faith person who doesn't value hope that they can't really live until what they're believing for happens. Whether it's a prayer answered, a circumstance change. But the delighter, the person who has hope, is delighting while they're waiting. They're living while they're waiting. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. The delighter is delighting with unfulfilled desires. I say this pretty much every week, but I say it for a reason, because it's going deeper in us. Those of you who are regular podcast listeners, it's going deeper. You're getting revelation. You're abiding in this word, and the truth is it's going to make you free. You'll know the truth, and it's going to make you free. We're living while we're waiting. Now, the thing is that if we're not living while we're waiting, the desire itself isn't gonna change us that much. It may change circumstances, and I'm not saying I love better circumstances, but if I'm not joyful now, the chances of me being joyful in the future are slim. Because my lack of joy is not a circumstantial issue, it's a me issue. It's a me issue. Now that's worth meditating on. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the podcast and being a part of our family. If you're new to Igniting Hope, you can find us at ignitinghope.com. We got all kinds of free resources there, declarations, our itineraries there. If you want to become a vision partner and support us financially, that's there as well. Send us a text, or contact us, message. We love to hear from you, testimonies. And ignitinghopeacademy.com has our courses, has ways that you can access what we have, even in a greater way. Lies smart people believe. This was a fun one today. All right, God bless you. Praying over the Igniting Hope family. I make declarations over you regularly. And we are just so excited to partner with God's purpose and plan for your life, and just to add strength. Our message is not the whole pie, but it's an important piece of the pie in our spiritual journey, in our personal journey, family journey. And by the way, I just wanted to say, on our Igniting Hope Facebook page, I've written some things. They're also appearing on our Igniting Hope Instagram. I've written some things just with even some current controversies in the church, and some wisdom that I believe will help us navigate some of these things. All right. Much love. God bless.